Please join me in a moment of prayer. Holy Spirit, fill this place with your presence. Be with me as I speak, and with your people so they hear your word. Amen. So this is a familiar story, the Beatitudes. But Matthew gives us the story a little bit differently from the other gospel writer. And I want us to pay attention to the way Matthew tells the story because I think it impacts the meaning of the story. So I'm going to ask a question, and no fair the people that were in Bible discussion on Thursday morning answering, because you know the right answer to this. So those of you that were in Bible discussion, just keep your mouth quiet and sit on your hands. This is for the rest of you. To whom was Jesus speaking? But you're all chicken. Come on, I was only gone a week. You know how this works. I ask a question, you respond. To whom was Jesus speaking? The disciples. So then, why is it that we think the Beatitudes are for us? Because we're disciples, says my dear Linda. Oh, are we? Oftentimes, I'm saying Christians as a whole, say that these Beatitudes were written for us, for the crowd. Let's take a look at the crowd for a minute. So I want you to start in chapter 4, verse 23. Remember I told you, keep your Bible open. I'm on page 3 of the New Testament in Matthew. We started there at the bottom of the left-hand column, but I want you to go up just to verse 23. Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and curing every disease and every sickness among the people. So his fame spread throughout all Syria. And they brought him all the sick, those who were afflicted with various diseases and demoniacs, epileptics, and paralytics, and he cured them. And great crowds followed him from Galilee, the Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and from beyond the Jordan. Well, no kidding. Great crowds would follow him. He was curing their every ill and their every disease. He was like the great vending machine from the sky. Anything they needed fixed, Jesus was fixing. Of course, great crowds followed him. Who wouldn't? And it goes on in chapter 5, verse 1. When Jesus saw crowds, he did what? Went up the mountain. The implication is by himself. He left the crowd. See, because he didn't come for the crowd. He didn't come to cure every disease and every sickness and every ailment and all the demons and all the epileptics and all the paralytics. He didn't come to cure all of that. It's not the reason he came. He did it so that people could see the power of God. Jesus cured all of that stuff so people could see God's power. Because eventually he was going to go to the cross and die and then be risen from the dead, and that requires an awful lot of power, doesn't it? Rise one from the dead. And so Jesus is giving a foretaste of what's to come. God's power over every illness and God's power over death. But the people didn't see that. The great crowds only wanted more of what Jesus could offer. And so Jesus had enough of it for the moment and went up the mountain by himself. Who went with him? disciples getting a little bashful. The disciples says so in the next verse, right? The disciples went with him. And here's the test. How many were there? Somebody raised their hand, but you were at Bible study. I told you, no fair. Everybody's looking back, Juanita. How many hands did she put up? How many fingers? How many disciples were there? Let's go up to verse 18, shall we, in chapter 4? As Jesus walked by the Sea of Galilee, he did what? Saw two brothers, Simon and Peter. No, it wouldn't be Simon. Yes, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew, his brother. And he did what? Told them to come and follow me. How many disciples is that so far? Very good. There we go. I try not to give you hard stuff. And then what happened after that? He saw two brothers, James and John, and told them to follow me. How many disciples have we got so far? 4. You see any more? No. Why am I making a big deal that there's only 4? Because this message that Jesus had is for an elite group of people. See, in continuing back down to verse chapter 5, this is why I ask you to follow along, because I'm jumping all over the place. I want you to be able to see it. Going back to chapter 5, in verse 1, his disciples came to him. How many disciples went to him? 4. Small group. They went to him, and then what happened in verse 2? He began to teach them. Who's them? The 4. Jesus began to teach the 4. Pastor, all the paintings we see is Jesus sitting on a rock, surrounded by all these disciples. Don't get your theology from artists. Get your theology from the Bible. How many disciples was Jesus teaching? 4. These Beatitudes are directed to an elite group of people, not the crowd, because the crowds aren't going to understand it. Not to a greater group of disciples who are following Jesus, because frankly, they're not there yet, according to Matthew. The 4 that left everything follow Jesus. The 4 that left their livelihood. They left their fishing boat, which wasn't cheap. They left all their nets, which was not cheap. They left their way of making a living. Frankly, they left their commitment to Rome to pay the tax for being able to fish. James and John left their father, implication his mother too, but left their family. They left everything. 4 men left everything. Followed to learn. They left everything. What would you expect if you chose? If you chose to leave everything you got, and as I look around the room here, y'all got a lot of stuff. You left your car. You left your house. You left your bank account, your 401k, your IRA, your Social Security. You left your family. You left all those clothes you got in the closet. You only were wearing what you were wearing, and that's what you took with you to follow Jesus. What would you expect? Perhaps a little way to go, right? Perhaps a little pat on the back saying, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have a special place in heaven. You are my favorite people. Wouldn't you expect something like that? And if you're going, no, you're really not being honest. If you left everything, follow Jesus, wouldn't you expect Jesus to maybe be patting you on the back and saying, well done? Well, what is Jesus? The first teaching that we have of Jesus Christ to his disciples are what? Listen, you four. You're following me, but you're not going to get caught. You see those people over there? The people down the mountain there? The sick, the outcasts, the people who are going through life just doing the motions, the people that society looks down their nose at. You see all those people down the mountain there? Those are my favorites. You see those people that society turns their nose up at? Those are the people I'm for. You see those people down there that don't have enough to eat and don't have enough clothes and are worried about what's going to happen tomorrow? They're the ones I'm concerned about. That's what the Beatitudes are about. You see those outcasts, those lowly people, those people who are struggling day to day, they're the ones the kingdom of heaven is for, not you. Well, crap, Jesus. Really? But I gave up everything to follow you. Yeah, so? But Jesus, shouldn't I be getting some of this stuff? Jesus goes, aren't you listening to me? Your job, you four, your job is to make sure they're careful. But Jesus, I want to be blessed. That's for later. Right now, what's going to happen? Verse 11. Right now, what's going to happen to you four? People will revile you. Woohoo! People will persecute you. Yes! People will utter all kinds of evil against you falsely. Yeah, bring it on. They will persecute you because of me. I'm your man. That's why I'm here, Jesus. Who wants to sign up to be a disciple of Jesus Christ? Anybody? Well, maybe if it was a little easier, Pastor. See, this Beatitudes wasn't written for all of you. It was written about you. But the Beatitudes are written to the small group of people who are going to follow Jesus and do what Jesus asked. The Beatitudes were written so that that small group of followers would recognize following Jesus isn't for wimps. The Beatitudes were written so that that small group of followers would know that Jesus is for hundreds. The Beatitudes were written for that small group of people who were dedicated to serving underdog and bringing the good news of God's kingdom. It's a small group indeed. Because cost high. Reread verse 11. Christianity in. Jesus Christ is for people in need. Jesus Christ came to bring peace, healing, people, the marginalized, the oppressed, the overlooked, the chastised, the people who are hurt by society, the hungry, the poor, the widows, the orphans. Jesus came to them so that they could know, love God. And it's up to the four. Spread. How does this fit you? Are you part of the crowd? Are you part of the crowd that needs Jesus' healing, compassionate touch? And frankly, at some point in every one of your lives, in some point in every one of our lives, we need that compassion of for the rest of it. We're called to spread that. We're called to get out of our own issues and see that Christ came to the world. So many people that go to church expect their ticket to be punched, so to speak, so that I get these great benefits that when I die, I get to go to heaven. Nothing says that. Say that in there. Reread it. Go home and reread it. Look at another version of the Bible and read it. It doesn't say that. Verse 11. Blessed are you when you're persecuted. Whoa, time out. Blessed are you when you're reviled. Whoa, wait a minute. On my account. When you're busy doing my work and spreading the love, my love, says Jesus, when you're busy spreading my love and my compassion and caring for one another, it's not going to be easy. Walk up and do it. That's what I'm calling you to. So are you a member of the crowd or disciple? At some point in time, we're all a member of the crowd. Next day. But when we're there for an extended period of time, it's because we're too wrapped up in ourselves. When we're a part of the crowd that is looking for the compassion and all of the benefits of being part of the crowd, we're too focused on ourselves. And that's where Jesus is saying, pour into you. Blessed are you when you do my work. You take my love and compassion to the people that need it. Right now, you're not one of them. So get out of yourself. Too bad you left the job. Too bad you left your house, car, and your family and your wealth. Too bad. I got work for you to do. Busy. Rejoice and be glad. For your reward is great. And if you're starting to feel bad about yourself and sorry for yourself, remember how they persecuted the prophets in the same way. Welcome to the club. Christianity ain't win. Don't feel win. Be a disciple. Holy God, we'd do more if it were easier. But give us strength, Lord. Give us strength and courage serve your people. Share love and your compassion for those who need it. Help us, Lord, get out of ourselves long enough to see the need in the world.